in my garden. I have a beautiful rhubarb plant. You can see it's big and leafy. And back under here are lovely stalks, which I'm going to tear out and use to make my scones. Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Robin Asbell, plant-based chef, and today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to work with rhubarb. So these days everybody's trying to figure out a way to cook out of the pantry and bake things because we're stuck at home, and so I find there's absolutely nothing more pantry friendly than walking out in my backyard and picking some rhubarb. Now, depending on where you live, you may or may not be able to grow rhubarb, but let me tell you, you put a plant in, it lives for 25 years or so. It's just a freebie that just keeps on giving. So if you haven't had rhubarb that you liked, I think I'm going to show you a great technique that's going to help you to really enjoy it more. So if you look at it, really, it's sort of like celery, right? It looks sort of like a big fat celery stalk, stringy and juicy, but when you mix it with sugar, it tastes like fruit. They call it the pie plant. So because of all that fibrousness and all that tartness, what we're going to do is we're going to use a process called maceration. Now, there won't be a test, but that's a fun word to know. We're going to use maceration. We're going to macerate this rhubarb. So maceration uses the chemical process of osmosis. What that basically is you're just going to chop up the rhubarb, mix it with sugar, and the sugar is going to cause the fluids inside the rhubarb to rush out, the fibers in the rhubarb to tenderize, and it's all going to mix together so that after you leave it overnight, what you've got is soft, tender rhubarb in a rhubarb syrup. So the sugar dissolves and you've got something you can mix into the rhubarb scone as well as the rhubarb. So to start, I'm going to take my chopped rhubarb. It's 1.5 cups of chopped rhubarb, of organic sugar over the rhubarb, and I'm just going to mix that up, and that will go into a jar. But thanks to the magic of television, I've already got it done. So here is the rhubarb in the jar. I've got my cornmeal, my whole wheat pastry flour, baking powder, and salt all in this bowl. Very simple little mixture. Don't forget, the recipe will be in the comments. Hit like and click on over to my website for more information at robinasbell.com. So for my macerated rhubarb, I'm just going to dump this into a strainer and see how it strains out and makes this beautiful rhubarb syrup. And see, that is going to be the liquid in my recipe. So then I put my rhubarb into a bowl, and I've got the syrup in this bowl. And then to make that mixture, I'm going to stir some mashed banana into the rhubarb syrup. I've got my flour mixture mixed up. Now to finish this, I'm going to take, now this is coconut oil, which I have melted, measured in a 1/4 cup measuring cup, and then chilled until it's solid. So I've got some hot water, and I'm just going to warm this cup so that I can slip the oil out in a solid piece. See how it's solidified? And then I can just put this right into, see how that's a nice little puck? And I'm going to use this grater to grate the solid coconut oil into the flour, and it makes little shreds. these little shreds are going to create flakiness. The mouthfeel of coconut oil is closest to butter of the plant-based fats. That's why we use it a lot. So then I just mix this flour and coconut oil together. And then I've got my mixture of banana and rhubarb syrup. That goes in there. I'm going to stir this up. And then as soon as this gets mixed together where there's not too much loose flour, we just go ahead and put in the rhubarb. You don't want to overmix with a scone. It's really important that you not overmix with a scone because you want it to be tender. So I'm going to stir that in. So I've got my dough. Dust it with a little bit of flour. Now we're using whole wheat pastry flour. I like to use a lot of different flours for baking, especially whole grain flours. So if you can get access to white whole wheat, spelt, kamut flour, those are all great flours too. So I'm cutting this into 8 lovely little wedges. See how I've got this? Just, it's very easy. Do everything half, 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 half. Then I'm going to sprinkle the whole thing with this crunchy organic turbinado sugar, just for a nice finish, and that way you don't have to do any kind of wash on top. It's going to have a beautiful decorative top. And then I just move these guys onto this parchment lined sheet pan and give them some room. They're going to spread a little bit. Not too much though. So, there we go. These are your scones, and thanks to the magic of television, I've got some scones ready to go. So here we are. Beautiful golden scones covered with crinkly, crunchy sugar and studded with tender, sweetened rhubarb, all organic, all plant-based, absolutely luscious. And your family is going to love it. And the whole thing came together out of a plant that grows in my garden with absolutely no encouragement whatsoever from me. You can also buy it really pretty cheaply at your grocery store and enjoy kind of the weirdness of a vegetable that tastes like a fruit. So in this spirit of plant-based quarantine cooking, I give you the rhubarb scone.